Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Music Den. I am your host Armando Venditti, and forgive the glare. The sun is bright coming through the windows right now, so I'm going to enjoy it while it's here. I'm going to be starting a new, I guess you call it a new series, and I'm going to be calling it "Was This Their Best?" Now, in this series, quote unquote, I'm going to be covering albums from artists across different genres: progressive metal, progressive rock, classic rock, pop, and I'm going to be covering albums that I personally think could be the very best. And hopefully you like what you see. And please put comments down below if you agree with me with whatever album I choose, and let me know what you think. But for this episode, it's going to be a doozy. Okay, I'm going to be covering an album from a progressive metal band um, that I think could possibly be their best album. It is from Dream Theater. It is Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory. Now, this album was released in 1999. It was released through Elektra Records, produced by Mike Portnoy and John Petrucci of Dream Theater, who basically produced, if not all, a majority of the albums. Um, it's a doozy, as I said. It's quite the story. It is a story of Victoria and Nicholas, and it is a long album. First of all, it is 77 minutes plus 12 tracks. This is basically told in play format in 2 acts. Now, as I said, it is a story of Victoria and Nicholas. So strap yourselves in, get something to eat or drink, and away we go. Now, Nicholas is someone who's going through, I guess, a difficult situation in his life, and he's going through sessions of uh, past life regression therapy. Now, he basically, in these sessions, comes across a woman who comes to him in visions while he's under, by the name of Victoria. And she basically nags him at one point to help him solve who murdered her. Through these therapy sessions, he basically finds out that Victoria is in a love triangle between her husband Julian and her brother-in-law Edward. Okay, pretty spicy, right? And Nicholas also comes to the conclusion that Julian, who Victoria left him for Edward, for his brother Edward, that Julian basically murdered Victoria and Edward in a jealous rage and made it look like a murder-suicide. Nicholas also comes to realize that he is, in fact, Victoria reincarnated. So, through talking to different people, he realizes that what's happening or what's happened is not actually the truth. What happens is Victoria ends up going back to Julian. Edward, being the spurned lover, murders both Julian and Victoria, and basically is there at the murder scene to tell the cops his version of events. Nicholas eventually figures out that it is Edward who murdered Julian and Victoria. He ends up telling his therapist about it. And the therapist, as we find out, is actually Edward reincarnated. After their last session, the therapist follows Nicholas home, basically sneaks into his home, Nicholas is lying on the couch, and he comes up behind him and he says the words, "Open your eyes, Nicholas." A scuffle ensues, as you can hear on the album, and then the record that he's listening to gets scratched, and you hear the grooves repeat at the end of the album like a scratch sound, and it fades out. And it's basically assumed that the therapist strangled Nicholas to keep the cycle going. Okay, now on this album, and I do believe that this is Jordan Brutus who plays keyboards. He plays keyboards on the album. I do believe that this is his debut recording with Dream Theater. Also, you'll have Mike Portnoy on drums, backing vocals, production. You have John Petrucci on guitars, backing vocals, and production. You have John Myung on bass, and James Labrie on lead vocals. Now, the work on this album, the playing, the composition, the arrangements are nothing short of stellar. They are amazing. They're intricate. They're layered. It is a progressive metal album, very aggressive playing, very fast, frenetic drumming, very intricate, heavy guitar work, but yet it is accessible. The the singing provided by James Labrie, again, is nothing short of stellar. He puts a lot of emotion, a lot of heart into what he's doing. The storyline, as intricate as it is, and as I don't want to say confusing, but is, again, as complex as it is, for me, it is heart-wrenching. It is heart-wrenching. We've all dealt with tragic losses in our lives, etc. But the album itself, the music on it, Dream Theater are known for their sprawling, epic compositions. This is no exception, although there aren't any 20-minute suites on here. The album, for me, sits right up there. It could be, for me, their best album, whether it's the subject matter of the story or whether it's the playing. I can't say. It's just that this album, which, by the way, I read about on Wikipedia, and just from reading it on Wikipedia, I bought the album. I subsequently bought most of their catalog after that. I went on a spending spree. But for me, Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory, is their best work. There is a double. There is a two DVD, 3 CD live album called Distant Memories Live, which they recorded in 2016 at what once was the Hammersmith Odeon. It's now Hammersmith Apollo, and it was recorded on their Distance Over Time album tour. The second half, I believe it's the second half, that is they perform Metropolis Part 2 in its entirety. The playing is stellar. However, for me, James Labrie disappears too much off the stage. He needs to be, for me, more engaging with the audience. And whenever there is a guitar solo from John Petrucci, which there is an abundance, he tends to disappear off stage and doesn't return back until he's needed to do the vocals. So I'm not saying he's phoning it in, but there's something lacking in the live presentation of this album. And again, forgive the glare from the sun. But yes, for me, this is by far their best album. I never get tired of listening to it. I can't listen to just certain tracks. I need to listen to the whole thing from track 1 to track 12, and I'm never disappointed with it. So that is my pick for this first installment. Please leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Should this have been a double disc? Could they have done more with the story? If you know of the story, could they have put 24 tracks instead of 12? Or would this um, have been okay with just a single disc, or should it have been expanded? Anyways, that's it for now. Please hit like and subscribe, and please click the notification bell to keep on top of any new content that I'm going to be posting. All right. That all helps me with the channel, with what I'm trying to do with this. So hopefully you like the content that I am providing. And that is it for now. And I will be back with another video very soon. And hopefully you guys are taking care of each other and yourselves. And we will see you very soon.